Have you ever been told that you look younger than your actual age? That moment of surprise when someone discovers your true age can be quite satisfying. "No way you're 40, they might exclaim, genuine disbelief in their eyes. It's not just about vanity, it's about vitality, about embodying a certain lightness of being that transcends chronological time. Welcome to today's exploration, where we'll delve into the fascinating relationship between your inner world and your outer appearance, through the lens of Carl Jung's profound psychological insights. I'm not just going to give you surface-level beauty tips, though we'll touch on those too, but rather we're going on a journey into the deeper psychological patterns that may be keeping you looking remarkably youthful. As Jung himself wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And perhaps in becoming who we truly are, we unlock the secret to a certain timelessness that others can see in our face, our movements, our very presence. So what's really happening when people consistently guess your age to be 5, 10, or even 15 years younger than you actually are? Is it just good genes, expensive skincare, or could there be profound psychological and spiritual factors at play? Jung believed that who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Today, we're going to look inside at the 7 psychological reasons why some people seem to defy aging, and how understanding these principles might help all of us cultivate a more youthful presence, regardless of our chronological age. So let's begin this journey together as we explore the 7 reasons why you might look younger than your age, and what Carl Jung's timeless wisdom can teach us about the connection between our inner world and our outer appearance. You've embraced your shadow self. First reason you might appear younger than your years relates to what Jung called the shadow, those parts of ourselves we tend to hide, repress, or deny. According to Jung, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. When we suppress aspects of ourselves, our desires, our quirks, our so-called negative traits, we create internal tension. This tension doesn't just exist in our minds, it manifests physically. The constant work of keeping parts of ourselves hidden creates subtle facial tension, contributes to stress hormones that accelerate aging and depletes our energy. Those who look noticeably younger have often done the difficult inner work of acknowledging and integrating their shadow qualities. They've recognized, as Jung said, that in all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. By embracing even the uncomfortable parts of themselves, they've released the tension of pretending, of hiding, of performing. Think about someone you know who seems perpetually youthful. Do they have a certain authenticity about them? A comfort in their own skin? This isn't coincidental. When we stop fighting against aspects of our personality or history, we release years of accumulated tension from our bodies and faces. I remember working with a client who, at 52, was consistently mistaken for being in her late 30s. When I asked about her philosophy of life, she laughed and said, "I finally stopped trying to be perfect in my 40s. I acknowledged my jealousy, my occasional meanness, my insecurities, and weirdly, once I stopped fighting those things, they lost their power over me." This is precisely what Jung meant when he wrote, "What you resist persists." The integration of the shadow doesn't mean acting on every impulse or indulging negative behaviors. Rather, it means acknowledging these aspects of yourself with compassion and understanding their origins. This integration creates a remarkable lightness of being that translates to a more relaxed face, more genuine expressions, and yes, a more youthful appearance. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart, Jung wrote. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Those who appear younger have often awakened to their complete selves, shadow and all. you've maintained. Your sense of play and wonder. The second reason for your youthful appearance might be your relationship with what Jung called the child archetype. This represents our capacity for wonder, spontaneity, and play, qualities that naturally diminish with age for many people, but not for those who seem perpetually young. Jung observed that the creative mind plays with the objects it loves. This playfulness isn't just a mental state, it manifests physically. When we maintain genuine curiosity and enjoyment in our lives, we move differently. Our faces light up more frequently. The muscles around our eyes and mouth, those most susceptible to showing age, remain active and elastic rather than fixed. In expressions of worry, concentration, or disengagement, consider how children move and express themselves with freedom, without self-consciousness, with full emotional presence. Now think about the people you know who appear younger than their age. Don't they often retain something of this quality? A readiness to laugh, to be surprised, to engage fully in the moment. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth, Jung wrote. Creative engagement keeps our minds flexible and our faces animated. It's no coincidence that many artists, musicians, and writers often appear younger than their chronological age. I once interviewed a 68-year-old potter who was consistently mistaken for being in her early 50s. When asked about her secret, she said, "I still play with mud every day. I never know exactly what will emerge from the kiln. That element of surprise keeps me young." Her face lit up as she spoke, temporarily erasing even the few lines she had. Research confirms this intuitive understanding. Regular engagement with activities that induce flow states, where you're so absorbed in what you're doing that time seems to disappear, triggers neurochemical responses that combat stress and promote cellular repair. The psychological state of play literally changes your biology. Jung understood this deeply when he wrote, "The debt we owe to the play of imagination is incalculable. Those who look younger than their years often have paid this debt through a lifelong commitment to wonder, creativity, and play. You've individuated rather than conformed." The third reason you might look younger relates to what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self rather than who society or others expect you to be. As Jung put it, conformity is one form of death. When we live according to external expectations, taking the career our parents wanted, staying in relationships out of obligation, or repressing our authentic interests to fit in, we create a disconnect between our inner and outer lives. This disconnect creates a unique form of stress that accelerates aging. Those who look notably younger than their chronological age have often done the hard work of distinguishing between societal expectations and their own truth. They've embraced Jung's principle that the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. This process of individuation doesn't just free up psychological energy, it transforms physical appearance. When we stop contorting ourselves to fit external molds, our faces and bodies literally relax. The constant micro-tensions of inauthenticity, which create subtle but persistent stress patterns in facial muscles and posture, begin to release. I once worked with a 58-year-old man who had left a high-pressure corporate job at 45 to pursue his passion for woodworking. 13 years later, he looked younger than when he'd made the change. "Living someone else's life was aging me rapidly," he explained. "I looked in the mirror one day and saw someone old and tired. Now I see myself again." Jung would recognize this transformation immediately. As he wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This privilege apparently extends to looking younger, too. Individuation isn't always easy. It often means disappointing others, facing uncertainty, or standing alone. Yet those who brave this journey often carry themselves with a lightness and ease that shaves years off their appearance. Their face reflects their inner freedom rather than the weight of compromise and conformity. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart, Jung wrote. This clarity doesn't just affect our decisions. It affects how we carry ourselves, how tension manifests in our bodies, and ultimately how young or old we appear to others. 4. You found meaning beyond external validation. The fourth reason you might look younger than your age connects to what Jung called the self, the archetype of wholeness and the regulating center of the psyche. Those who appear more youthful have often developed a connection to meaning that transcends external validation, social status, or material success. As far as we can discern, Jung wrote, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. This kindling of inner light, finding purpose that resonates on a soul level, creates a vitality that manifests physically. When our sense of worth depends primarily on external factors, how we look, what we achieve, what others think of us, we subject ourselves to constant psychological whiplash. Each criticism becomes a crisis. Each failure feels catastrophic. This creates chronic stress patterns that accelerate cellular aging and manifest in our appearance. Conversely, those who have developed what Jung called a standpoint outside the ego, a connection to meaning that transcends personal achievement or validation, display a remarkable resilience. This resilience doesn't just affect their mental health. It shows in their face, their posture, their entire physical presence. I remember meeting a 72-year-old humanitarian who was routinely mistaken for being in her mid-50s. When I asked about her remarkable youthfulness, she said, "When you're connected to something larger than yourself, the small things don't wear you down anymore." This perfectly illustrates Jung's observation that the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. This connection to meaning beyond ego doesn't mean abandoning ambition or rejecting recognition. Rather, it means that these external factors no longer serve as the primary source of one's identity and worth. This shift fundamentally changes how we respond to life's inevitable challenges and disappointments. Those who look younger have often found what Jung called myths to live by, personal narratives of meaning that provide context for suffering and joy alike. As Jung wrote, man cannot stand a meaningless life. Finding meaning creates a psychological resilience that directly affects physical resilience, including how we age. The face of someone who has found intrinsic meaning carries fewer worry lines, less tension around the mouth and eyes. There's a certain ease that comes from not having to constantly prove one's worth, and this ease translates to a more youthful appearance. You've maintained genuine connection and community. The fifth reason for your youthful appearance relates to what Jung recognized as the profound human need for authentic connection. While Jung focused much of his work on the inner journey, he also acknowledged that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Those who look younger than their years have often cultivated genuine community and meaningful relationships. They've created spaces where, as Jung put it, they can appear as they truly are, not as others wish them to be. The science confirms what Jung intuited. Chronic loneliness accelerates aging at the cellular level, while meaningful social connection promotes longevity and youthfulness. Studies show that strong social bonds reduce inflammation, improve immune function, and even protect our telomeres, the protective caps on our DNA that shorten as we age. But Jung would be quick to point out that not all social interaction is equally beneficial. Superficial connections or relationships where we must constantly censor or perform actually drain our energy and contribute to stress. It's the quality, not quantity, of our connections that matters. I once interviewed a vibrant 63-year-old who was consistently mistaken for being in her late 40s. When asked about her youthful appearance, she didn't mention skincare or exercise, but her monthly dinner club, a group of women who had supported each other through divorces, career changes, health challenges, and personal triumphs for over 30 years. When you know you're truly seen and accepted, she explained, you don't have to waste energy on pretense. That saved energy shows in your face. This perfectly aligns with Jung's observation that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. It learned that this becoming often happens in relationship to others who accept our authentic selves. Those who look younger than their years have typically created what Jung might call containers of transformation. Relationships where they can be vulnerable, express their shadow elements, celebrate their successes, and process their grief without judgment. These authentic connections reduce the chronic stress that accelerates aging and provides emotional resilience against life's inevitable challenges. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, Jung wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. Those who look younger have often found companions for this journey into consciousness, friends, partners, mentors, or communities who support their authentic becoming rather than demanding conformity or performance. You've integrated opposing elements of your personality. The sixth reason you might appear younger than your chronological age connects to what Jung called the transcendent function, the psyche's capacity to unite opposing elements of personality into a higher synthesis. This integration creates an internal harmony that manifests externally as a certain timeless quality. Jung believed that psychological health depends on our ability to recognize and integrate the contradictions within ourselves. The greater the contrast, he wrote, the greater the potential. Great energy only comes from a correspondingly great tension of opposites. Those who look notably younger than their years have often done the challenging inner work of embracing their contradictions, rather than attempting to resolve them through repression or one-sided development. They've recognized their capacity for both selfishness and generosity, both wisdom and foolishness, both strength and vulnerability. This integration doesn't create internal conflict, it resolves it. When we stop trying to be only our good qualities and reject our bad ones, we release an enormous amount of psychological energy previously spent on maintaining these divisions. This released energy doesn't just affect our mental state, it transforms our physical presence. I once worked with a 61-year-old former executive who was routinely mistaken for being in his mid-40s. When I asked about his philosophy of aging, he said, "In my 30s, I thought I had to be either tough or compassionate in business. In my 40s, I realized I could be both. That integration changed everything. My leadership, my relationships, and yes, probably my face too." This perfectly illustrates Jung's concept of the coincidence of opposites, the understanding that seemingly contradictory aspects of ourselves can coexist without conflict. As Jung wrote, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When we use these irritations as gateways to self-knowledge rather than projecting them outward, we create an internal coherence that manifests as a certain ageless quality. The face of someone who has integrated their opposing elements carries fewer stress lines, less reactive tension. There's a stability that comes from not being internally divided, and this stability translates directly to physical appearance. Jung believed that the most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. This hard-won calm doesn't just affect our emotional life, it shapes our physical presence in ways that contribute significantly to a youthful appearance. 7. You've embraced the continuous process of becoming. The seventh and final reason you might look younger than your chronological age relates to what Jung called the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming more fully yourself. Those who appear youthful have often embraced aging not as a decline, but as an opportunity for continued growth and development. Life really does begin at 40, Jung wrote. Up until then, you are just doing research. Those who look younger than their years have often taken this perspective to heart, viewing each decade not as a loss of youth, but as an opportunity for deeper self-knowledge and expression. When we believe that our best years are behind us, that aging means only decline and limitation, we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our faces begin to reflect resignation rather than curiosity. Our movements become cautious rather than exploratory. This mindset accelerates aging at both psychological and physiological levels. Conversely, those who maintain what Jung called a beginner's mind, a willingness to learn, to be surprised, to evolve, often display a remarkable youthfulness regardless of their chronological age. As Jung put it, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." I once interviewed an 81-year-old who had just taken up digital painting after a lifetime as a traditional artist. With her bright eyes and animated expressions, she was often mistaken for someone 20 years younger. "People get old when they stop being willing to be beginners," she told me. "I make it a point to do something I'm completely terrible at every few years." This commitment to continuous becoming doesn't deny the reality of physical aging. Rather, it places physical changes within a larger context of ongoing psychological and spiritual development. As Jung wrote, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning, for what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie." Those who look younger than their years have often embraced this wisdom, allowing themselves to evolve rather than clinging to outdated self-concepts or social roles. This psychological flexibility creates a literal physical flexibility, a lightness in movement, an openness in expression, a responsiveness to the present moment that reads as youthfulness. The greatest and most important problems of life, Jung wrote, are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. Those who look younger than their years have often embraced this process of outgrowing rather than solving, allowing themselves to continuously evolve rather than seeking a fixed state of perfection. As we've explored these 7 psychological factors that contribute to a youthful appearance, you might have noticed that they all interconnect. Shadow work facilitates individuation. Play enables authentic connection. Finding meaning supports the integration of opposites. Together, these elements create what Jung would call the integrated self, a state of psychological wholeness that manifests physically as a certain timelessness. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, Jung wrote, but by integration of the contraries. This integration doesn't erase the marks of time from our faces. Rather, it transforms how we wear them. Lines of worry become lines of character. Marks of age become symbols of experience. The truly remarkable thing about this Jungian approach to youthfulness is that it's available to everyone, regardless of genetics, financial resources, or access to medical interventions. The work of becoming psychologically whole doesn't require expensive procedures or products, though it does require courage, commitment, and often guidance. As Jung himself aged, contemporaries often remarked on his vital presence, his piercing eyes, his embodiment of the very principles he taught. He demonstrated that aging doesn't have to mean diminishment. It can mean enrichment, deepening, and a different kind of beauty entirely. The afternoon of life is just as full of meaning as the morning, Jung wrote, only its meaning and purpose are different. Those who look younger than their years have often embraced this different purpose, moving from the morning's emphasis on achievement and external validation to the afternoon's focus on meaning, authenticity, and wholeness. This shift doesn't just change how we feel about aging, it changes how aging manifests in our bodies, our faces, our entire presence. The integrated self carries a lightness that transcends chronological time, a vitality that emanates from within rather than being applied from without. So if you've been told you look younger than your years, perhaps it's not just good genes or good luck. Perhaps it's the ongoing work you've done to become more fully yourself, to integrate your shadow, maintain your sense of play, individuate rather than conform, find meaning beyond external validation, cultivate authentic connection, integrate your opposing elements, and embrace the continuous process of becoming. As Jung would say, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. And in that choosing, that conscious, courageous journey toward wholeness, we find not just psychological well-being, but a certain timelessness that others recognize as youthfulness. The next time someone expresses surprise at your age, remember that what they're seeing isn't just a well-preserved exterior. They're seeing the light of an integrated self, a self that has done the profound inner work that Jung described as the privilege of a lifetime. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the deeper psychological factors that contribute to a youthful appearance. May your own journey toward wholeness bring you not just the appearance of youthfulness, but its essential qualities: vitality, authenticity, wonder, and the courage to continuously become. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung.